Hello there and welcome back to the channel. This is Nerdworld and the concluding part of my Babylon Stations series. Now, I say concluding part because of course there is a Babylon 5 in this video. There is of course about Babylon 4 because you know that because you clicked on the link. But Babylon 5 will be coming at a later date with a bigger video. So for now I'm finishing the Babylon Stations with Babylon 4 and you can wait for Babylon 5 at a later date. I'm that kind of dick, I know. Anyway, with that said, please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. And check out all my links, socials, and other stuff. That's all in the thing below. Before I get started with this video, I want to quickly plug a friend of mine has been starting a music career, and her band Athena have recently released one of their first singles, which is available now to view on YouTube and I think to download. And it's linked in the description below if you want to check it out and give them some love. It'd be appreciated by them and by me. So there we go. And with that said, let's get into this video about Babylon 4. Okay, now Babylon 4 is an interesting one. It's the largest of the Babylon stations. In and of itself, the station wasn't remarkable other than the fact that it was huge. It was, however, very different to Babylon 5 in that it was constructed on a very, very different thought process. On some levels it was the same. It carried the same shuttles, the same loaders, the same work bees, etc, etc. It would have had similar complement of fighters and it was equipped with the same standard pulse defense grid and detection systems that B5 would get. Nothing remarkable there. However, there were certain aspects of the station that were quite unique and different, aside from the fact it was about 6 miles long rather than 5 miles long of, spinning metal. It could hold considerably more people and resources. It actually was made of 2 counter-rotating cylinders. Basically, one rotated clockwise and one rotated counterclockwise. Now, there was a reason for this. We know that B5 and likely B4 was able to control the gravitational strength in different areas of the station, as well as obviously control atmosphere by increasing or reducing ring speed in that area, somehow. This station had another reason for it. It was all about balance. This station actually had engines, in addition to simple maneuvering thrusters. It actually had the ability to move itself. It obviously couldn't jump, but it did have the capacity to maneuver itself and change location completely within a star system if needed. It was brought online in 2254 as the 4th attempt of the series of stations in the Babylon project. It utilized materials dating back all the way to the first Babylon station. Remember, all this was taking place over a very short space of time. It was only begun in 2248. The Earth Alliance seemed to be able to demonstrate a very impressive ability to build ships and stations very rapidly. From conception to design to production was a very short space. How they manage it, don't know, but it's the future. Let's give them a very wide latitude on that. Of course, with just a skeleton crew and temporary commanding officer, just 24 hours after the station went online, it began to experience temporal disturbances. And then, with the appearance of certain individuals such as Zathras, or Zathras, whichever one it was, they would travel forward in time to 2258. The Sinclair, Garibaldi and others would come aboard, they would evacuate the crew, and then the station would begin its journey back in time. Now, the reason it time shifted in the first place is, stay with me, Captain, not Sinclair, Cruisebox Lightner, him, I'll remember his name in a minute, Delenn and others, went to the station in the future and utilizing the great machine on Epsilon 3 to open up a temporal rift, they went back in time on the White Star and they attached a device and they did a thing and they began to time shift the station because Great War needed Zathras. Oh my god, it's complex, but wibbly wobbly timey wimey, as a great man would once say. From a different timeline and universe. Anyway, getting off topic. This would cause the station to time shift and end up in the future temporarily, where Sinclair and the others had turned up while they were making repairs to their time dilation technology at Sheridan. Captain Sheridan, I knew I'd remember his name eventually. Can't believe I forgot that. Bad me. Call myself a Babylon 5 fan. Anyway, the station would ultimately go back in time as it was needed in a war. Now, it was noted that anyone that had already passed through the time barrier, such as Garibaldi, couldn't go again because it would affect his aging, similar to what happened to a fighter pilot that first went there. If they were to do it again, the consequences could be unforeseen. Now, these consequences were not unforeseen by Sinclair, as he had future knowledge, which was what we will get to in just a moment. Basically, they all have to leave, but Sinclair is beginning to age. So Sheridan, Delenn, and the others, they leave the station before it travels back in time, and they have to leave Zathras there, because he also is Bean and he can't go again, whatever. So they go back in time, and they go back to about the year 1260 in an Earth date, which was the time of the last Great Shadow War. Now, at this time, the Minbari and other races were at war with the Shadows, but it was chaos, it was anarchy. They were losing, or from a Shadow point of view, winning, because that's what they wanted. Shadows were weird. I think we can all agree. Incidentally, got a full video on the Shadows, which I probably will forget to link, but it's probably in the playlist somewhere of this video. Anyway, so they go back in time with this space station, because at this time it is the most needed. Now, similar to Babylon 5, Babylon 4 would serve a great purpose in galactic events. The station was needed to help fight the war, to be a staging ground for the war against the Shadows. Now, the great Minbari base that had been built to do this had already been destroyed, and they needed a forward base of operations. So Babylon 4 materializes and is gifted. But the Minbari would have rejected it if a human was aboard. So upon arrival, somehow they contacted the Vulcans, Vorlons, my god, franchises. Anyway, well, they both got Ducat. Anyway, getting back on topic. So, someone brought this up as an interesting point in a comment. Why didn't the Minbari recognize the Babylon stations? Some did. It is actually mentioned that some did. Some actually did recognize it, because some records of Babylon 4 remained from that war. Now, my interpretation is, aside from records can be lost over a long period of time, my guess would be the Rangers, under either instructions from Valen, or Valen himself went out of his way to do it, somehow eradicated any records of B4 as much as they could. Tried to, after the war it ended with the Shadows, that first one, they either destroyed Babylon 4, or they recycled it, or they did something, but he basically tried to scrub it of anything. Now, they made a point that humans litter our outposts with symbols and iconography and words. There would have been, not to mention, not even touching on the computers, there would have been documentation aboard the station, there would have been writing on the walls, not to mention there was a bloody human on board, although he was Minbari, not born of Minbari, he had become Valen. Sinclair was Valen, spoilers, sorry. But the series is old, it shouldn't be spoilers by now. So, Babylon 4 becomes a station the Minbari would actually refer to as Intiera'zhe, which is where that phrase actually came from in Minbari language. It's basically meant Great Space Station in Minbari. And that became their new forward base of operations for the Great War against the Shadows, and it was very successful and served a very similar function to what B5 would serve. As they arrived, as I said, they'd reached out to the Vorlons, who must have detected the time dilation. Valen and Zathras explained to the Vorlons what was happening, and upon greeting the Minbari, they would be flanked by the Vorlons to add a little credence and weight to what Valen was saying, and he would help them win the war, or at least postpone the Great War against the Shadows. He would win this war, but postpone it for about 1,000 years, and he would leave all of his prophecies about the return of the Shadows, which we all now know was really just because Sinclair had a lot of future knowledge. It wasn't really so much prophecy as it was cheating, but it was useful information. Now, there is Apocrypha and beta canon about what happened to the station, because there isn't anything concrete, but there is a comic series and Apocrypha, and basically this alien race who fought the Shadows 1,000 years ago, whose name I forget, the Tech-Cha were followers of Valen's teachings, but they followed a corrupted version, so they ended up not listening to his teachings, and he sent them away For 1,000 years they hid, but they ended up in possession of B4 somehow, or of Intiera'zhe, and they protected it as a holy shrine until Captain Sheridan, Commander Ivanova, and others would rediscover the station floating dead in space 1,000 years later. Babylon 4, a bit worse for wear, but it would ultimately crash into a planet's atmosphere and be broken up. That's the sort of apocrypha, the beta canon on what happened to it. Whether or not you want to believe that as part of the B5 continuity is up to you. But that's the possibly ignominious end to Babylon 4. It's at an interesting station, the largest of the Babylon stations, whereas B5 was the last of the Babylon stations. But there we go. Babylon 4. Beautiful station. I actually really like the design, I'll be honest. I think I like it more than the B5 design. But that might be because it's a little more unusual and a little different over the more established B5 which we're used to. Because I like a lot of the fan designs, like the Shadow-inspired Babylon station and the various Babylon 6 designs that you see pop up here and there. A lot of them are really cool. And this one, I don't know, I really like B4. It's cool and it's green. Don't know why that matters, but it's green. All different colours of the spectrum after all. So, anyway, then we have to discuss in the comments below which of the stations you like the most. I know there isn't a lot on the others, and a Babylon 5 breakdown will be coming, but obviously Babylon 5 is a much bigger station, require much more detailed, longer videos, so I will make it. It just won't be immediately following this one. But, there we go. And please check out all of my social links that are linked in the screen below, plus all of my other channels and my Patreon if you feel inclined to help this channel grow. And more importantly, my friends band Athena, who have recently, I believe, gained a label, and they're linked in the description below. Here's that clip again. If you like what you hear, go check out the full video, it's linked down below. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and bye bye.